And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to GeekWatch, a subsidiary of the Monastery, the open bar of the internet. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 1, 2, 3 good brothers and one newcoming good sister. Ah ha ha ha! First off, we have the man eternally cursing Atlanta roads and planning on overrunning them with the He-Ho army. Good brother Akira. we have our cosplay brother currently finishing off his invasion of Metrocon. Good brother Slick Rick.
Hee-haw! 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 Goddamn it, Coops! Take your boys back up north!
Whoa, nope.
And we have the man of 1,000 runes, the CEO of Zadare Enterprises, and the bane of my fucking existence, good brother Xanatrix.
It's a double dose today. I already baned him earlier. I'll bane him again here.
And making their GeekWatch debut, the person who claims that they will not break under the shenanigans of our temple. We'll see how that lasts.
The clock is already running, boss.
Good. The debuting good sister, Miss Starlight.
You got you.
It is Palindrome Night. It is July 17th.
What's good?
And of course I have to bring up a palindrome anytime it comes up.
Of course.
Because I'm not going to be able to. It's going to be quite a while before I can break out the Thursday the 20th meme.
So close, but not close enough.
In fact, we won't.
I don't even know what that is.
In fact, we won't even be able to bring up the Thursday the 20th meme until October.
The beat. What does it mean?
A for effort. Starlight. Bit of a heads up. We here abide by the first rule of comedy. Never explain the joke.
Yeah, I'll just have to wait.
Besides, we can't use. We really give the reason, however, we still haven't paid Mark Hamill for the one time.
Why would we pay Mark Hamill?
I'm not paying Mark Hamill. He should be able to get as much money as he wants playing politics.
Yeah.
I, however, do not play politics because I am not enough of a prostitute. But this week that is not the focus. The focus this week is the return of something we haven't done since the very early days of GeekWatch.
Back in the old times.
When Tower Record stores roam the earth.
We haven't done this since September of 2020. Let that sink in.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
So,
been a little while.
For those of you who don't remember, back then we did a little something that I've come to call the Pick 5 challenge. The original incarnation of this was everybody but me picking 5 anime, and then I had to figure out what tabletop games in my vast library would be a natural fit for them. and within that, an explicit rule was made. I am not to know any names for any of the items in advance. Now, in this particular instance, Xanatrix has been handling the spreadsheet with everyone's picks, and some similar rules apply. Some similar rules applied to the list. Namely, no more than 2 of any genre, any developer, and so on, and to try and aim for a variety.
Yep.
Now, the reason why I don't handle the tracking of the picks myself is very simple. I want this to be as on the spot as I can make it. And because of that, I can't know in advance what any of the picks are. Now, this is where unfortunately I have to pick on good brother Akira for this, because
unfortunately, you lie. You don't think it's unfortunate.
We see that sick grin on your face, Monk.
You revel in the fact that Akira fucked up.
Yeah. In a conversation in a voice chat elsewhere, he had mentioned that he had submitted his and that he was playing one of the games that he had submitted and then name dropped it, and I immediately was like, dude, what the fuck?
Did fucking no!
Bullshit, you didn't.
Wah wah.
It's not that you didn't know, it's that you didn't pay fucking attention.
Everyone, grab all the salmon around you and start flinging them at Coops. The smellier, the better.
Do they have bullheads down south?
What's that?
He was asking for smelly fish. Bullhead is as smelly as it gets. Nobody keeps bullheads where I come from.
I'm pretty sure they do. It's Florida. Regardless, here you go, Coops.
But
I fish though. Why not tomatoes?
Tomatoes actually get rid of smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's
They make
funnier?
a better impact though.
What's funnier? Something as silly as a fish with a terrible stink, or a tomato which really doesn't leave that much of a lasting comedic impact?
But it's like moist and juicy and stuff.
you're thinking with your stomach.
You're not thinking comedically.
Maybe I'm just hungry.
Besides, Coops is not a terribly dancing octopus or squid.
No. But with that in mind, as mentioned, I forgot one other rule. That it has to be something. It has to be a game that you have some familiarity with. Because if I don't, it's up to you to give me the elevator pitch. This is to avoid people picking extremely obscure shit that they just drew from a hat or something. And with that in mind, because we have a total of 20 to go with, and Rick is going to be doing some packing tonight. Rick,
Sorry, yes.
no worries. No worries. Just an unfortunate bit of timing. I forgot that it was con season.
Yep. Which is weird because we mentioned it last night.
I'm saying I forgot about con season when I was planning.
Fair enough.
So This means that Rick, you're up first. So what do you have in your first entry for your 5?
First up, 13 Sentinels.
Okay, this one I know of. I'm being very cautious about what I can say on the matter because I really feel like 13 Sentinels is something that people should go in blind. I
don't blame you for. I don't blame you with. I agree with that.
I did bring up 13 Sentinels when I was discussing David Cage and the many reasons that he is a fucking hack. Especially when it comes to his understanding of science fiction, because Detroit Become Human broke me.
Not in a good way.
No, in a what the fuck are you doing way.
Mm-hmm.
I can, especially with certain twists that we covered. But if you want to know the details on why Detroit Become Human pissed me off, go back and watch the A Tale of Two Archers episode of GeekWatch, where we compared him with Sam Lake. Spoilers: Sam Lake's not a fucking idiot. So, 13 Sentinels. Since 13 Sentinels is mech adjacent, that is going to make my job a little bit easier. I would, and actually, I think as much of a gamble as this is, I think I know one that would work, even if it's a classic in the indie tabletop world. Bliss Stage.
Okay.
That's one that immediately comes to mind for me.
Okay.
Outside of if Bliss Stage doesn't cut it, then the other one that might work is Tears of a Machine. Basically, you need one that has a midway point of interpersonal drama and mecha, and those are two that instantly come to mind for me. So,
anyway, second choice.
That sounds like it fits pretty well.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, you want me to? You were saying?
So what's the second pick?
Because it's me, Mario Party 6.
Okay. Funny enough, I have two Mario games I have two Mario TTRPGs I can use.
But here's the thing: which one has the best day and night cycle? Because that's like the biggest gimmick of Mario Party 6.
A day and night cycle is something that can easily be house ruled.
Fair enough.
Yep.
So there's two options. There's Mario World, which was a project by TG, because TG gets shit done. But because of the fact that that one leans a little bit into things like Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario, including a badge system, that might not work. Alternatively, there is Mushroom Kingdom Classics, which is essentially a Mario hack of dungeon crawl. Is essentially a conversion of Dungeon Crawl Classics. Which does mean that it'll be easier to set up.
Yesterday we celebrated Chase and Millie's birthday.
That's what I think. Anyway.
So, what's entry number 3?
Okay. Concrete Genie.
Okay, that I'm not as familiar with. So what's the pitch?
Basically, you live in a seaport town that is dark and danky. So through the power of colorful graffiti, you are trying to bring light and joy back to the small town you grew up in. All while dealing with living art that is your graffiti.
Sounds more like Jet Set Radio.
Anyway, I was playing. I played it. It's a PlayStation exclusive, and I was playing it with my younger cousins, and it has some really good mechanics into it.
Okay.
Let's see, I'm giving a look at certain things. I would say Urban Mages is one that could be used. Another potential one, especially given the artistic leaning, would be Parslings, which Parslings is a interesting take because it takes a little, because of how spell casting in that game is always a collaborative affair, and relies on cards instead of dice.
Mm-hmm. I can totally see it.
So that's 3 down. What do you got for number 4?
Back to Mario with Super Mario Sunshine.
Ooh, good one.
Sunshine. I do think that the Mario World entry that I mentioned beforehand is going to work. The thing that would be tricky is the fact that 99% of Super Mario Sunshine is built around the flood gimmick, and an entire party of people using flood would kind of lessen the impact of the thing. You know, it's like, is magic all that? How special is magic when you have a party full of wizards? If you catch my drift.
Good point.
Because of that, I'd probably end up using the TG Super Mario RPG, and instead, but I would treat Flood as a magic item within that system.
I can see that. Like, there's the other part of me, and this is just more the silly side, is focusing more on the Piantas, the actual residents, and see how they're dealing with it. But I'm sure that's like an easy mechanic to work into there.
Yeah.
Anyway, last but not least, Black Flag, Assassin's Creed.
Okay. Unlike some of the other ones, I am not hurting for choice. Because you're basically asking for a pirate themed game. So let me get a few instances we could use. There's obviously some things like Pirates of the Spanish Main or Flashing Blades or Rapier and Dagger. One of our good friends put out his own game called Blood and Thunder that could work. There's also the upcoming Cursed Captains of Cthulhu. But I don't want to put that one in because that one's technically not out yet. I only have I only have the documents from that because I backed it on Kickstarter. But instead, I'm going with one that is going to have a whole lot more legs and has a setting that you could easily integrate. We're going to the Seventh Sea. A game that I have covered in the past, even if its creator is somebody who I have some strong disagreements with. But if you need something a little more adjacent to the more ubiquitous role playing games, Freeport will handle that very easily. So it's a good setup. Now, if somebody wanted to specifically be a assassin in that sense, I'd probably just give them the Hidden Blade and be done with it there.
Oh yeah. Honestly, in that type of situation, I would say like the more interesting story is be the crew of the assassin. So no one's really assassin trained, so to speak. At least narratively speaking, it seems a more interesting idea.
Well, again, there's a reason why I understand why Ralph Coster didn't want Jedi in Star Wars Galaxies, and why I was vehemently against having any Time Lords in any Doctor Who campaign I would run.
Oh yeah.
The only time I'd put up with the whole everyone the party is assassins is when there's enough variety with that concept that you can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's enough variety in that Assassin's Creed style assassin. Plus, well, Ubisoft doesn't even want to do assassins anymore. Mostly because they're trying to make the same game in perpetuity, but that's a whole other story. So that is one entry in the crowd down.
Zan,
Yes, Starlight.
look at your DMs. I asked you a question about this.
Oh no.
Okay,
Anyway.
yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll see you guys around.
All right,
Hey.
stay frosty, Rick.
Yep.
So next up is you, Coops.
All right. Game number 1. And this is a me thing, so Sonic Heroes.
Okay. Question. I'm not asking you to give me any specifics, but just in advance, is this the only Sonic game on the list?
No.
Yes. It is
On
the only
his
Sonic game.
on his list, yes. In the total list, no.
All right. I just want to bring this up so I try repeat myself.
Okay. There are multiple Sonic games. I'm not going to say how many multiples, but there are multiple in the total list.
So, one of the first entries that's coming to mind for me is a Powered by the Apocalypse game called Rings and Running Shoes. Which is a legally distinct Sonic game, but when it comes to replicating the feel of that party thing, I think trying to do that in tabletop is very difficult for one simple reason. In something like Sonic Heroes, you're controlling 3 characters at once. In a tabletop game, you're only going to be controlling one character most of the time. Multi-character tabletop sessions are rare. And because of that, I think the focus should be more on teams, and that's where things get tricky, because games that explicitly are built around team play, not as common. There's a reason why we make a big deal about the myth of self-sufficiency that Tanner put in Heavens and Heresies.
Right.
But Rings and Running Shoes is the most blatant. I know some people don't like Powered by the Apocalypse. I am neutral on it.
We've been through this. We've talked about it in the past. Powered by the Apocalypse is a good system when it's used correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Just like many other systems.
And at the very least, the playbooks within Rings and Running Shoes aren't going to cause too much issue.
Okay.
So that's what I've got in mind for that first one.
Alrighty then. Game number 2 is Galgun 2/VR.
I know of the Galgun games, but I have not played a single one of them.
Well, Galgun 2 in particular is pretty much the same premise. You're a silent protagonist who actually gets a pair of VR goggles, and these VR goggles has the ability to attract girls towards you in like a horde type of thing or whatever, and you have this hair blower thing that you use as a gun, but you can also suck up demons and whatnot.
Do you shoot off their panties? Is it that game?
Sort of, kind of, but it's almost accurate. And your main goal of the game is to conjure up demon buster points to fill up a quota within a few weeks, all the while finding your true waifu.
Not exact. This would be tricky to go with. Just on the premise alone.
When he gave me that one, I was like, "Oh, Monk's gonna have a time with this one."
But I would say, when given the ridiculousness that we are dealing with, let's throw Besem into the mix for this.
Ah! Okay, big eyes, small mouth. It is.
Mm-hmm. Specifically 4th edition.
Oh, Jesus.
If I wanted to be really ironic, I would have said Besem naked.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
don't read too much into it. Besom Naked is just a stripped down version of Besom 4th Edition.
Are you ready for game 3?
Yep.
All right. Game number 3 is Senran Kagura Estival Versus.
Okay, I am more than familiar with the Senran Kagura series. Even though I'd say all but one entry I've played, and that's because it was in a style that I was not interested in. But I'm going to operate under the assumption that you're using this as a catch-all for the ones that take a beat 'em up approach as to a more shooter approach like PBS.
Correct.
Okay. That makes things somewhat easy. So we're dealing with we're definitely dealing with the over the topness of things. Taking that into account, the smart ass in me wants to say Anima, but Anima's too crunchy for that. So instead of that, I'm gonna piss some people off. Feng Shui 2.
I'm the only one who knows that game, I swear.
Granted, we wouldn't be able to do the time travel shenanigans, but I'm not a fan of using time travel anyways, so that's not a loss. That being said, a lot of I was gonna go with either that, or I was going to go with actually a secondary entry you could use, Fight.
Okay. All right. Game number 4, Super Monkey Ball 2.
He chose some nice off the wall bangers. I love it.
Yep, I did. This is meant to be a challenge for me, so I can't fault him for that.
I mean, you could. You're spiteful enough.
But truth be told, I really think there needs to be a I'm not sure who could do it, and I'm not even sure how you would do it. But I really feel like there's somewhere out there a game that's meant to be a catch-all for these sorts of platformers, and bringing that into tabletop form. I get the feeling someone's made it. I just haven't found it yet. So in lieu of that, I'm gameplay style. Trying to recreate the maps and any Super Monkey Ball would be kind of tricky to pull off. So you know what? Fuck it. Tune.
Nice.
All right then. Final game, and hopefully this will be a little bit easier. Wario Land 4.
You know, if I hadn't used the Mario World entry so many times, I would have said that.
Yeah, but I argue Wario Land 4 is a little bit different in that aspect compared, seeing as though that is more of a treasure hunt than it is more platform. It's still platformer, but it's more treasure hunt.
For the purposes of this, that isn't that much of a change.
Okay, fair enough.
So given that I am this is definitely going. I don't want to use what I mentioned before as a get out of jail free card, because I get the feeling this is not the last Mario entry.
No, it is.
All right, in that case, I have one other I can use. This is going to be a little bit out of date compared to the current iteration of what it's based of the system it uses, but Savage Mushroom Kingdom.
I've heard of that.
It is exactly what it sounds like. It is taking Savage Worlds and putting Mario in it. And while it isn't the prettiest looking PDF, there's still a good amount of detail with it. The PDF that I have is about 43 pages long. When I say, the reason why I say it's a little out of date is this particular setting is using Explorer's Edition. That's two back on Savage Worlds. The current version is 5th edition, which is known as Adventure Edition or Suede. So you might have to do a bit of work, but it is possible. So that being said, I believe the next one on the list is you, Zan.
It is indeed me.
All right, what do you got?
First game is Hard Space Shipbreaker.
One that I am very familiar with, both through my own playthroughs of the game and watching Tex and company play the game like idiots.
And me, who played it a bunch as well, and I figured I was in safe company with Hard Space Shipbreaker. I want to see how it comes to tabletop.
Well, Hard Space Shipbreaker is firmly in the firmly leans into harder sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So given that there's a few entries that would certainly fit. If somebody wants to go the more horrific route, you could probably get away with Eclipse Phase.
Okay.
Beyond that, if you want an older take, there is Cold Space. Cold and Dark could also potentially work, though. Cold and Dark is a bit more. All of these lean into horror aspects, but that's something that can be controlled by the GM, and of course, Mothership.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you're not hurting for choice when it comes to material with Mothership.
Yeah, that's true.
And last but not least, as much as this is probably cheating, Traveler.
That is a bit cheaty. Yeah.
That's
a little bit.
That's why I listed it last, because it's kind of obvious.
Kind of obvious. Yeah.
So, what's game number 2?
Well, this is me pandering to my own interests and yours. Super Robot Wars 30.
I am assuming that you're using this as a stand-in for the SRW franchise as a whole.
Yes, but specifically 30 because of all the changes to the systems that have come across.
All right. Well, the game that is now known as Battle Century G, you should know, originally started out as Giant Guardian Generation, which was designed to try and emulate Super Robot Wars.
Yep.
So that's an easy entry right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to go into for the purposes of clarity, I would like you to go into some of the details on the changes that were introduced in 30.
So in 30, and specifically what a cross wiki loosely calls the modern entries, which is V, X, T, and 30. There was the introduction of the extra orders and the extra actions, and these are actions that, as you kill, you get points, and with these points you can perform what's basically a universal list of different spirit actions.
Mm-hmm.
The most abusable one being Move Again, which is you pay at base cost 4 points, and if when you attack your next target, if you kill it, you get to move again. Which is the big one I wanted to actually focus on, was that Move Again mechanic.
A lot of what you've told me fits very naturally with the tension rules that Battle Century G already has.
Okay. And I guess the other big change, not really that big, is the fact that you can use your spirits on the enemy turn as they're attacking you.
Which, again, that's something that can easily be house ruled, and I think there's already a system for interrupts as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it went even further with Battle Century Z. Now, if that isn't if I want to go full crunch on this, obviously there's Mechton Zeta.
Mechton's good stuff.
There's also Gunframe, which was done by the same guy behind Freeform Universal. I know some people would bring up Lancer. Lancer would be a poor fit here. Not unless you want to blow the. Mostly because of the fact that the way it does mech customization and the method that something like SRW would require aren't compatible. And while it isn't technically out yet, I would say from what I've seen of Steelhearts, that's one that is worth considering at the very least. Regardless of which one you use, for something like SRW, you're going to have to do a whole lot of work. And truth be told, if someone asked me to do a SRW campaign, I would be more inclined to use OG as a base.
Okay.
Mostly because the mech list for an OG entry isn't going to be as large as not. As well as the fact that I can play around with archetypes a little bit. There is also the Exceed RPG designed by our good buddy Brian Niemeyer, the same guy behind the Exceed series of novels. And there was Chris Perrin's Mecha, which incidentally had a very interesting way of handling the character sheet because it tries to look like a mech cockpit.
Yeah.
I think I've shown you that character sheet in the past.
Yes, you have.
So those are a few options. Truth be told, among all of them, the one that I would personally go with is Battle Century G, because as much as I like Mechton, for what I'd need to do, it's a little bit too crunchy, especially with the amount of mechs I'd need to make.
Yeah. All right. Well, for game number 3, we're moving to an RTS. Homeworld.
Alexa, play Adiago for strings. Well, if I want to take the easy route, I could bring up the Homeworld 2D20 game that's already out.
But we're not doing this to make it easy on you. Also, question, how well does that 2D20 game actually do at emulating what Homeworld is?
It does a decent job. It's obviously accounting for the fact that you're not playing as the mothership, but it's on the same level of quality as Modifist's other 2D20 works. Even if one of them I find to be a bizarre choice for an RPG. Dishonored.
Okay.
The Dishonored RPG isn't bad, I just find it a strange choice.
That's weird.
Then again, I thought Guardians of Order doing a tabletop book on Ghost Dog was a weird choice. Yeah, that was a thing.
That sounds ridiculous.
I like the movie. I just don't see how you get RPG out of that. But since that is off the table, there are a handful of entries that I think would work instead. I'd say a few examples of these would be Void Empires is one that could be done.
Okay. Okay.
I'd say Stellar Wind is possible, but you might have to do a bit of legwork. In fact, regardless of which one I pick here, you're gonna have to do some legwork adapting the ships.
I mean, that's gonna figure.
Mm-hmm. I'd say 6083 would be an interesting take. And if you're a masochist, you could break out 2300 AD. Pro tip: don't. And truth be told, a lot of space opera entries that I have would easily work. Some of them would work more easily than others. The thing that's going to make this tricky is handling that amount of ships, because remember, one of the big selling points with Homeworld is an RTS in a 3D space.
Yep.
Especially with the whole being able to create squadrons far more freely than you can in a lot of other RTSs, even space RTSs for that matter.
Yeah, the squadron system in Homeworld is nice and robust, and I love it.
Mm-hmm. It's also one that'd be tricky to adapt. But truth be told, I think a lot of, with some exceptions, a lot of going with the RTS feel is better served in a miniature war game. You know, where handling a lot of units is kind of the point.
Yeah.
But if we're going with just the setting, these are the ones I'd go with. And truth be told, the Homeworld entry that I would use as a template for a campaign is the one that wasn't able to get remastered, unfortunately. Cataclysm.
Oh, Cataclysm. Okay.
AKA Emergence.
Yeah.
Which one were you about to say?
Deserts of Karnak. I don't think it got remastered.
Deserts of Karnak didn't, but truth be told, I'm kind of iffy about using Deserts of Karnak for the in this experiment, because it's a completely different set of worms.
It is. I was like, why are we making up Deserts of Karnak? All right. Well, that's Homeworld down.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna like the next one. This is me pandering to myself, but since I'm pandering to myself, there's a lot of overlap there, Monk. Vanquish.
Yes, Vanquish.
San Francisco, it's gone.
That was for the good of all Americans.
It really was too.
So, I think handling Vanquish begins and ends with handling the suit. Everything else comes secondary.
Yep. Once you have the suit handled, you can just then tailor the other systems.
So, if I'm looking for a freebie that'll give me plenty of gunplay in this regard, Ops and Tactics immediately comes to mind. I'd say outside of that, there's a lot of games that could potentially be used within this setup. Since if all that matters is the suit, then we're not exactly hurting for choice.
Yeah.
I would say having a game with that rewards stunt work is certainly going to help.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that regard, while it might be a bit of a stretch, you could probably work with Wushu.
Okay. You'd have to do some legwork there.
Yeah, but with Wushu, you're not going to have to do as much legwork because Wushu is meant to be played pretty loose as it is.
Yeah. And Wushu has some pretty good stunt systems to it to begin with, so
yeah. Outside of that, maybe source not source code, but as much as this would be a stretch, maybe messing around with the Magitech Chronicles. That's a massive stretch. Or actually, I know the perfect one, and it's one that we've talked about.
Oh, really?
Veil of the Void.
Ha ha! I knew you were going to bring it up, and you're specifically bringing up the soldier.
Yep.
I know exactly where you're going with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see the soldier fitting this.
Yeah, it's...
Or maybe the field knight.
Honestly, field knight would be better.
You're right. Jets.
Field knight's all about jetpacking all over the place and dragging people with his jetpacking.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you do the thing where you switch out some features and you get some of the soldier features because those would also fit.
Especially,
I have a feeling that Sam would be a combination field knight and soldier.
Yeah.
So I guess that means shout out to Trevor and don't forget code 2 monks for 10% off.
Mm-hmm.
He still has that code valid, right?
Yeah. I haven't checked with him, but I have no reason to doubt that he dropped it after we finished covering it, because I made clear that when that Norse setting project that he's doing it gets further along, we're going to be back to talk about Veil of the Void.
Yep. And so I think using us as a sales code is always a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Plus it's my way of paying it forward after he went through all that hell trying to get the hardcover book shipped to me.
You've been getting a lot of hardcover books. Just like your most recent upgrade.
Yeah. Would you mind giving the people the skinny on that particular story of surprise I didn't exactly expect?
So, as many people who watch us might know, our recent Veil of the Void that we finished
Valley of the Judged.
Or Valley of the Judged, yes, excuse me. I did that when we did Veil of the Void last time, too. It's just Veil of the Void on the brain. Mm-hmm. But our recent Valley of the Judged prior to Emberwind was the Magi Knights beta testing documents, essentially. And the creators of Magi Knights, Kira and Derek, great people, really appreciated a lot of our input and insight. And, of course, even after we did that and during that, Monk was helping them try and design more things for the game, such as helping them hash out the soul guns they wanted to make as part of an expansion, and even try and make a more solitary hero a la Kamen Rider version than the Sentai Magical Girl stuff that was already going on in Magi Knights. Mm-hmm. And he obviously kickstarted it at the level where you would get the PDF once it's done. Recently, Kira was like, "Hey, I'm going to just credit you so that you can get the hardback. Would you like that?" And Monk, being Monk, is like, "Yeah, sure. I'd love that." And so they finagled some stuff, and he's getting the hardbound edition of Magi Knights once it's in production, mm-hmm. as you know, a thank you for all the help.
Mm-hmm. And I always feel weird when devs send me that kind of thing. Largely, and it's not like I outright ask for it. I'm not a journalist.
He's not asking for swag. He pays into the things he believes in, especially when it comes to things like Kickstarters. And sometimes devs just go, "Hell yeah, by the way, here, have a physical edition." Mm-hmm. He's like, "Wait, what?" But yeah, I can see Veil of the Void also being good for Vanquish. Mm-hmm. And I guess that means we're going on to my final game?
Yep.
Okay, so Monk, this is the other Sonic game that was on the list. I specifically chose it because I wanted to see how you deal with the powers Sonic Colors.
Ooh.
I wanted to see how you deal with the Wisp powers.
Quick side note: the Japanese voice actor for the Wisp announcement is the same announcer voice for the Gaia Memories, which led to people making Wisp Gaia Memories as fan art.
I mean,
you blame them?
Yeah. Do you? I'm with Coops on that one.
No.
Let's see Let me see who that was. Okay. For those of you who don't know, the voice of the Gaia Memories is Fumihiko Tatsuki. He plays Kenpachi in Bleach, Gendo Ikari in Evangelion.
Kenpachi? My man? Oh my god, yes.
Yes, this is the Japanese seiyuu for Kenpachi, Gendo Ikari, Nightmare from Soul Calibur, Gil from Street Fighter V. He was also... He's done a lot of stuff. Man's been around. Mm-hmm. So... He's also going to be the Gaia Memory voices in Futo Tante when it comes out, obviously. But he's done other tokusatsu work as well. Like he was Bara Printer in O-Ranger, the narrator in Kuga, King Rouser in Blade, and Gamio Zeta in Decade as well. So there's a lot of stuff that he does. He's also Here's another one that panders to us, Monk. He is well known for being a narrator of Pride Fighting Championships, Dream K1, Ryzen Fighting Federation, and of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh.
So yeah, this guy is prolific, and the Wisp Power announcements are him basically doing his impressions of Gaia memories as well.
Yep.
So how would you deal with it, Monk? Let's hear it.
Okay. Since it is essentially a lot of the Wisps. Now keep in mind it's been a bit of time since Colors, and I didn't buy the remake for obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons.
Jinx.
I mean, it's not like, the remake doesn't have any problems, not at all. It's not like people went into the void or turned into plaid.
Or the fact that people had an easier time on emulated on Switch emulators than the real thing.
Ding ding ding.
Note to Nintendo: when the remaster of your game works better on an emulator than on your actual hardware, you fucked up in QA somewhere.
I don't know if that's on Nintendo or on Sega, but it's a case of I don't know what we did wrong, but we're doing something wrong.
It's probably a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B there, Monk.
Probably. But if you'll give me a moment, let me refresh my memory on the Wisp list.
There's the white Wisps, which are just boost refill. Orange is Rocket. Yellow, I believe, was Drill. There's a lot of them. I think I actually have the list up because I was anticipating this.
No need, Xena. I got this one. Cyan Laser, Yellow Drill, Pink Spikes, Orange Rocket, Blue Cube, Green Hover, and Purple Frenzy. At least for the Wii version.
Yep. With the power, Rocket and Drill both are obvious. Hovercraft is a little not obvious. It allows you to float and dash through trails of rings. Cyan obviously turns you into a laser. Blue gets rid of specific blocks and turns them into blue rings. Pink allows you to go up walls because you're covered in spikes. And purple turns you into a Pac-Man version of Sonic.
Yep.
Giant head with large fangs, allowing you to break through obstacles while chomping.
Regardless of how the overall point is that you're transforming yourself to get to do some sort of thing that you normally can't.
Yes, you're achieving a thing by getting some powers from a helper creature. Or in this case, a helper resource, however you want to flavor it.
Given that, I'm very tempted to go with a hacked version of the Cypher system.
Okay.
If
now you're really pandering to me, Monk.
If that is not available, then another easy hack to utilize would be Cortex Prime, and have Wisps as a one round stunt.
Okay, I can see that.
Because of the fact that everything revolves around die sizes even more so than Savage Worlds, it's something you can easily integrate into that.
Yeah.
So I think is that all of the entries you had?
Yep, that's everything of mine.
All right.
It is I. It's my turn.
It's time to move on to our newbie and pick on her.
All right, ready for the first one?
All right. What do you got?
Okay, we got Skull the Hero Slayer.
I actually
You
have.
heard of it?
I actually have this in my library, but saying that I have something in my library is kind of redundant because I have over 2,000 PC games in my library.
If you haven't played it, it's a roguelike 2-dimension platformer game where you play as a little skull boy and you fight against heroes and you get stronger over time. Every time you die, you get stronger and you upgrade your attacks and your magic and you pick up different heads from other companions or other comrades, and you get new powers.
Sounds to me like it's Dead Cells or any other roguelike
It's kind of
Metroidvania.
like Dead Cells, yeah.
So, given all that, what we're ultimately dealing with is a fantasy roguelike where you're going to be doing the cycling quite a bit and probably have some randomization with abilities.
Yeah. RNG.
So taking that into account, that means that we have some possibilities we can work with. I do think that this is something that would probably demand a more granular approach. One that likely isn't using a class or an archetype system. Excuse me. So given that, while this might be a bit unorthodox of a pick, I'm going with Anima Prime.
What's that?
Anima Prime is a D6 based game that has an unorthodox method of generating your abilities, given the fact that it relies on three pools: action, strike, and charge. Action is your pool of D6. Strike is what you use for attack. When you roll for your action, you're rolling to see how many are going to be strike and how many are going to be charge. Strike is your action, and charge is what's spent on your abilities, powers in this instance. That is one potential entry for something like this. I'd say barring that, something like run and gun could also be utilized.
Okay.
So there's some options present. Oh yeah, and I forgot full party strike. So there's three potential entries. I'd be hesitant about bringing in Full Party Strike because that isn't technically out yet. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Okay. The second entry is called Stellaris.
It's a 4X game, Monk.
And it's one of your favorites.
Fuck off. Paradox can suck my dick for taking away all the good options for movement.
It's a civilization game, kinda.
Monk knows Stellaris, trust me.
Okay.
Okay. We're back to fucking around with with my science fiction folders. I could have sworn somebody did a hack of Stellaris.
Even barring a hack of Stellaris, what about part of the Fragged franchise?
Fragged Empire would be a natural fit. There was a both that and I'd say when it comes out, Farsight would work as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actually no, I take that back. Farsight came out last week, so I can put that on the list without having to put out any caveats. Especially since everything that I've seen of Farsight so far feels like a spiritual successor to Star Wars Saga Edition.
Which is another one you could use.
Mm-hmm. I'd be a little bit hesitant about using Star Wars Saga Edition because of setting baggage.
It's tied to setting, yeah.
And truth be told, the setting issue is certainly present in Fragged, but Fragged Empire is probably the best one you can utilize for one simple reason: the spare time rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
Although if I wanted to be a smartass, I would bring up that I'd probably use the Genesis system and utilize the mods that were made to do Endless Space 2.
Oh god.
The better 4X in my opinion.
Endless Space is good for X as well. There's a lot of good 4Xs if you know where to look.
Yeah, I prefer Endless Space 2 to Stellaris, largely because of how it works mechanically, but also on a visual level. Amplitude's art direction is very hard to beat.
Are we moving on to the...
Yeah, on to the next one.
Okay, the third one is called State of Decay. We're doing the second one. The second game, not the first one. It's zombie apocalyptic. And there's some, like, base building. You, like, help other survivors and work on your base to make it better, and you gather resources and stuff.
Okay. Era survival is an easy one I can go with. And and I'm totally not saying that because of the fact that Ed Jowett has been a frequent guest on the show.
That's just coincidental.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, given how many people I've had on the show, with that kind of thing ends up getting a bit redundant.
Mm-hmm. It'd be easier to tell people when something you're talking about is from someone you haven't had on the show.
Mm-hmm. If I want another potential entry to utilize would be Maximum Apocalypse.
Ooh. Sounds cool.
I'd say as well. This one might be pushing it a little bit, but let's throw in Degenesis. I mean, someone might say, but the Genesis doesn't have any zombies. You're right. It has worse things.
All right.
And lastly, Residuum.
Ooh. What's that?
A heavily modified mix of post-apocalypse and AD&D. Without a lot of the stuff from AD&D that pisses me off.
Right.
So what do you have next?
Number 4 is Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Going from pirates to another thing that caters to us, Monk.
Once again, I am not hurting for choice when it comes to Viking games. Let's see. We have Rune and Steel. We have Fate of the Norns Ragnarok. We have Svivald. If I have to limit myself to more ubiquitous role-playing game settings.
I have a game I've played and I continue to remember to this day, and I still can't remember the name of every time I think of. And that's well, no, I remember the reason I remember it is the only session I ever got to play. My Wandering Norseman did not get castrated, but my fellow player did for insulting a skald inside the drinking hall. I think it has stars in the title.
I can't think of what that might be. And beyond that, there's plenty of sword and sorcery games that could work. Hyperborea especially. I'd also say Savage Kingdoms is another one that could work, which, despite its name, has nothing to do with Savage Worlds.
Mm.
And
What's it about then?
It's a sword and sorcery game.
Oh.
Swords and sorcery.
I'd also say Trudvang Chronicles would work as well. But truth be told, with each of these, you'd have to dial back on the fantastical aspects. That's why something like Root and Steel would be a ideal entry.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Is it this one that I'm thinking of for... It might be.
Which one?
Sagas of the Icelanders.
Ah, that one I am familiar with, and yeah, I can see I can see one.
Legitimately, the other player I was playing with insulted a random dude in a drinking hall, Monk. Like, my guy had just come in with well, my guy had just come in with a couple of furs that he'd gotten. You know, he was just sitting down for some mead. The other guys saw the furs, you know, raised their horns and were like, "Ha-ha!" He comes in. First of all, he rolled someone that isn't one of the Norse XP characters. So he's already seen with contempt. And then he decides, when someone is like, "Well, what are you doing around these parts? You're clearly not from here," to insult them. Gets in a duel with them, loses the duel, and the punishment for losing the duel is castration.
Holy shit.
They fucking gelled him.
Oh my god.
It's the only session of Sagas of the Icelanders I've ever played. And the other player I'm playing with gets castrated in the first 20 minutes.
Holy crap. That's crazy. It's freaking crazy.
It was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
If I recall correctly, Sagas of the Icelanders used PBTA.
It might have. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I'm going to send you a cover image. Does this cover image look familiar to you at all?
I think so. Yeah.
Because that's the only Sagas of the Icelanders games that I know of and have in my archives.
There's another cover image, one that's a little uglier, but it's also PBTA. This one right here that I think is the one that I recognize more.
Yeah. That's not the That's
the one from Drive-Thru.
Yeah, that's the one from Drive-Thru. It's not the cover that I specifically have. I have the one that I showed you earlier, which looks much better.
Mm-hmm.
And the printed version is like a coffee table book.
Yeah, I love the fact that the reason it sticks in my mind so well is my fellow player got himself castrated by being stupid.
That's crazy. Oh, wow.
To that I say, no simpy.
That's true. No simpy.
What does that mean?
No sympathy.
Oh.
That's just a shorter way of saying it.
As an aside, anybody who's looking for tips on for some references when it comes to doing a Norse themed campaign, there are two works that you need to watch. The obvious one is Vinland Saga.
Good shit.
Which I am waiting each day for season 2.
I haven't watched it yet. I need to.
Yes, you do.
The other one, a film that got all the right people angry, and I very much enjoyed, The Northman.
Oh, my mom watched it. She said it was amazing.
Well, then you should watch it because it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I need to. I just haven't gotten to But
yeah, that'd be the best approach. Although And that's just using the fact that Assassin's Creed Valhalla wants to be a Norse themed game. Although by that point I have to ask the question why they keep using the Assassin's Creed name, because there's not much assassinating going on.
Because it's a franchise.
And yet, after all this time, even though everybody and their mother was asking for an Assassin's Creed with ninjas, they still couldn't do it. To the point that Sucker Punch came in and said, "Fine, we'll do it ourselves."
Wait.
And thus we got Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But let's see, what number are you at with that one?
That's 4.
That
It's on
was
our last
4.
one.
I'm at 5.
Before you name your 5th game, I just want to say, Monk, I wish Shades was here.
Yeah, he couldn't figure out 5.
Well, I wish he was here simply because of her 5th entry. Go ahead and tell him.
I changed it. Or wait, did you?
I changed it.
David?
It's changed.
Okay.
It's changed on the list.
5th entry is Undertale.
When you said I wish Shades was here, I was like, this better not be what I think it is.
I had a feeling.
She changed it from Hearthstone.
From Hearthstone,
to Undertale.
because it was already like Hearthstone's technically. I think they already made it like a tabletop. You can.
It's a fucking card game.
Fuck you, okay? So I changed it to Undertale.
Hey, Monk, she's already gotten into the swing of things. She's already cursing you.
Hearthstone is World of Warcraft, the card game. Not to mention, I already have like 5 different Magic the Gathering RPGs, so I could just use that.
Yeah, but that would be taking out the easy way out, so I changed it to Undertale.
Fortunately, this question was asked, but it wasn't asked while I was live. So I am very familiar with Undertale. I find certain aspects of the fan base to be cancer, much like I do with any fandom. Remember, our policy here is fans, not fandom.
And games, not names.
I enjoy the game, but I have expressed my concerns that the fan base props the game up to a unreasonable and unreachable standard.
Yeah.
Not just that, but they almost use it as a crutch for lack of a personality. They don't have a personality, so they use parts of Undertale as part of their personality.
Yeah, the kind of person who lists their fandoms in their social media bios.
Yikes.
Or all the super Hulock people.
What's that?
Let me tell you about the ancient times of Tumblr. And the most annoying fandom of them all. Supernatural, Doctor Who, Sherlock fans.
Oh, like when they put in the people they simp for?
Not only that, but it's 3 different fandoms combined into one. Supernatural's fandom, Doctor Who's fandom, and specifically the Benedict Cumberbatch TV Sherlock Holmes fandom.
They put all 3 of those into one fandom?
Mm-hmm. And they did crossover events and everything, because they're annoying as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd they do that?
And this is one of many reasons that we have a certain policy, specifically regarding headcanons.
Headcanons? Get the head cannon.
And with that in mind, when it comes to Undertale, the most clear answer I can go with is a old FFG game called Grimm. What's
that about?
Grimm is playing into the archetype of characters who kids in a fantastical world that have to rely on their wits. If you've seen some form of Peter Pan or something like that, it's in that particular realm. That's one potential one. If I wanted to go with something a bit more weird, Puppet Land is also available. Although Puppet Land can be a bit screwy.
Like in what way?
It's difficult for me to summarize. Puppet Land is weird. Let's put it that way.
Does it actually have puppets in it?
You're not actually having to hold a puppet, if that's what you're thinking.
Are people the puppets?
Yes and no.
No. Okay.
A freebie that could easily work is Fluxborn. And if it sounds like I'm leaning into fairy tale like games with this, that's kind of because I am.
I mean, Undertale is made a majority of a bunch of monsters and animal things and talking skeletons, so technically.
And tsundere airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that tsundere airplanes based off of specific characters from Toho.
Yeah, and I'd also I think there was one of. Oh yeah, there's also things like Quest and Once Upon a Time that could also work. I was tempted to bring up Mouse Ritter, but no. Although somebody really wants to stretch that thing, maybe they can get away with using a hacked version of Mouse Guard. Not my personal choice, but I'm not your dad.
What the fuck does that mean?
Monk, it's a gift that keeps on giving. Aren't you glad I told her we're keeping her? Not that Coops would give us a choice, but still.
Also, good strong hands could be utilized just as well. So there are options. Now, if somebody wants to replicate the gameplay style, that is where things are going to get tricky. But a key thing that I've tried to hammer home with a lot of this is that this is not necessarily about replicating the gameplay style, but more of replicating the feel of things.
Yeah.
Just a reminder,
Gameplay
everybody.
is-
Oh, go ahead.
Well, the gameplay in Undertale has like 3 options technically, because there's the genocide route, the mercy route, or the neutral route where you can kill and spare.
None of that is what I was talking about when I was talking about replicating gameplay.
I mean,
Like, that can be
I don't-
replicated in just about any TTRPG ever.
I'm just saying that the outcome is different.
Yeah, but most of that's going to be up to a GM and how they run the sessions.
Mm-hmm.
True.
We're primarily wanting to help replicate the feel of Undertale. And all I have to say to remind some people, remember that Good Strong Hands is a reference to the never-ending story, and now all of you hurt.
The never-ending story. Never-ending story.
Exactly.
I finally got a reference. Let's go.
Had to happen eventually.
Mom sat me down on one Sunday and just made me watch a lot of old movies.
Well, I'll give her credit for taste.
Yep. Well, that was my last option, the Undertale.
And
so.
With that, we've had a good spread of things. Although, I think some people need to not rely so much on Mario and Sonic.
Feels like one.
This if I do this again, maybe I should limit it to maybe instead of no more than 2, maybe I should have it as 1.
Yeah, I think that.
I mean,
I didn't read your prompt right, so I thought you said 1 and not 2. So that's why I made mine all different.
So, and that's fine. I mean, I made all of mine different. I only chose 1 Sonic game, Monk.
Same.
The only person who chose 2 games within the same franchise, I think, was
Well,
Rick.
we got cubes, bro, for real.
No, I don't think even Coops did. I think it was just
That was
Rick.
Rick.
Yeah,
Oh.
because he had Mario Party 6 and then Super Mario Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. And to a certain extent, I opened myself up to this which is part of the design. This is a challenge in terms of me stretching my own abilities. But I think this is as good a time as any to bring up a certain philosophy that we've mentioned here in the past. Something that we call games, not names.
Yep.
I don't know what that means.
Zan, would you mind being the evangelist regarding this?
I'll be the evangelist for both of our best sayings. So first, the first one you heard earlier, fans not fandom. Fandom is a collective. Fandom is also in many cases used as an identity, and as such, it becomes as base and as grotesque as its lowest members.
We got that.
We care about the people who actually care about the things that they're interested in, the fans. We don't care about what collective they choose to identify and associate with. That collective identity doesn't matter to us. The same idea comes with games, not names. We care that the game you're playing is good. Has good gameplay, has good, good music, good story, whatever makes it enticing. We want to explore what makes it good. And we don't care about the name on the box. We don't care about designing for what people think the name on the box should be. Our biggest example that we continue to use is Final Fantasy as a series. Final Fantasy is a name that many people know, and for some reason, a lot of detractors for newer Final Fantasy games seem to be detractors based on an idea of Final Fantasy they have that doesn't actually fucking exist. Because Final Fantasy has never kept its formula the same twice. It doesn't happen. They are always experimenting with Final Fantasy from game to game. But even then, we don't even care that it's got the name Final Fantasy on it. We care that this game that is released is a good game. Is the gameplay cool? Is the story awesome? Is the music awesome? Do we like the characters? Do we like the art direction? Do we like the art style?
Mm-hmm.
We look at the game, the content itself, instead of whatever label you've put on it.
We also don't care about the politics behind the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the big reason that I devised the term "games not names" was out of a frustration where I would see people talk up a storm about how as if nobody's making good games and using the shit that a lot of the AAA entries have been doing lately as proof of that.
You just have to go out of your way to just try out indie games. Like, I love indie games. They're like hidden gems.
Oh, we have definitely and always we've always told people to look to indie games and lesser known games. We actually did a stream a little while back, the Summer of Games hangover shit show,
Mm-hmm.
where we explored a bunch of trailers during the Summer Game Fest stuff, looking not just at the big names, but at smaller things that nobody actually may have paid attention to.
And a lot of the entries that we covered, a few of them have already come out. Loopmancer and Tale of Bistune are already out, and I have those in my library. And I should have mentioned at the time, but October is going to be a very full month, especially for those who like role-playing games.
Ooh.
But the big reason that I bring that kind of thing up is I think a lot of people utilize the MTX and similar surprise mechanics bullshit that the bigger companies are trying to pull as an excuse to not try.
Yeah.
And for me, well, when I say that my crusade is to expand the hobby, that isn't a catchphrase. It is something I have gone out of my way to do since day one.
Yeah.
Hell, I had jokingly said, if I'm ever caught streaming Fortnite, shoot me, because I've clearly been replaced by a replicant. But that is going to do it for this particular installment of the Pick 5 challenge, as well as this installment of GeekWatch. I will have a fair few entries for the next few days, including an interview with someone who is Sonic adjacent. So there's my pandering to you, Coops.
I might need to check that out then.
As well as the fact that a old friend will be coming back on Tuesday, and of course on Friday we'll be continuing our class look at Emberwind by looking at the Druid. but when it comes to what's coming down the pipeline next week, we'll be tackling something that we had planned on tackling a while back, but this was when I was still having technical problems. Technical problems that we have long since fixed. But that is a story for another week. So until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk, and